Well, thank you very much. I'm not going to speak for very long because I've been asked to just essentially wrap up. And I know Mike's going to say the thank yous, but I would like to say them as well to the Wellcome Trust, not just for funding so much work outside here, the Lancet Countdown and other things, but for funding today. I'd like to thank them for their leadership, genuine leadership. You've just heard of this from Alan. They're not sitting complacently. I'd like to thank the Physiological Society for their leadership again. Because never before, I've been in this space for 26 years, and I've never seen or attended a meeting such as this. Alan referred to it. The plurality of voice in this room is unheralded and unprecedented. We've never seen it before. And I'd like to thank you for being part of that audience. So I've made notes of what I've heard in the last 2 days. Firstly, we heard about the threat. Mike started us with that at the very beginning. The threat that we're punching our way through RCP 8.5, the heating curve. We're heading towards 3 and then 4 Celsius, to a mass extinction event, Mike quoted us on that, to 4 billion dead with only a matter of a few decades, to my death quite likely from climate change, and I'm 62, and from that of my son who's 19. We've heard about security threats. We heard about economic security threats. We heard about threats to food security and quality. We've heard about threats to energy availability, and we heard about threats to ecosystems. And we heard that along the way, harm would befall us from heat, from particulate pollution, partly from the combustion of fossil fuels that drives the climate change, but partly, indeed, from fires and from dry desert dust and so forth. And we've also heard that along the way we'll suffer from food availability and quality, remembering that only 7 weeks ago seniors in the food industry said, quotes, "We can no longer rely upon the availability or quality of food." But we heard some positives. We heard that the very things that drive climate change, high carbon lifestyles, if addressed, can be very good for us. The motorised transport that creates a large number of the fossil fuel particulates, the burning of the fossil fuels in our homes, the gas boilers, the gas cookers, the food that we eat. We heard very eloquently from Paul Behrens and others about the huge contribution, 38% of global greenhouse gas emissions coming from the food supply sector, and a large amount of that coming from ruminant meat. And we've heard that if we address those things, we can be very much healthier. That lives that don't combust that fossil fuel and create those particulates, lives that involve active transport, lives that involve eating plant-based foods, are good for us, can save our planet and can save us directly. Last 2 things. We've heard of the challenges, and repeatedly through the 2 days, I've heard the word silos. I've heard it repeated. Everyone's been saying the same thing. The problem we face is siloing. Well, thank heavens for the Wellcome Trust, thank heavens for the Physiological Society, because today and yesterday are an example of those silos being broken down, properly broken down, in my view, for perhaps the first time. And the second is inaction, that we've been sitting waiting for politicians or businesses, or the rest of civil society to get on and do stuff. And again, I thank those that have put on this conference because they've been exemplars to us. The fact there isn't time left. As Alan said, I wrote it down, there is no time left. We have to get on and act. And these 2 days have been about starting that. So finally, what are we going to leave here and do? Because this will have been an enormous waste of time if we've made some good network connections and eaten some nice vegetarian or plant-based food, and we all go home and back to ordinary lives. The first thing I'm going to suggest, and I do have the approval of the Physiological Society to say this, I want us all to unite. So I'm going to suggest that we send out an email with maybe a short survey monkey in which you agree to share your email with everybody else and your name and some short details about yourself and what you do. So that if you didn't get the chance to speak to someone, you'll find who they are and collaborations will be spawned from today. Genuine collaborations that lead to action, not to more conversation. So that's the first thing I think we should do. And the final thing is to remember that we must take personal action. We cannot sit there and expect other people to solve this for us. We must move our bank accounts. If you haven't, you do that tonight, to a bank that doesn't fund fossil fuels. You move your investments if you've got any. You move your power supplier to someone that is 100% renewable. You change what you eat. If you haven't listened to it and heard it said, and you go back and don't change, then I don't know what's wrong with you. You're not living, you're not walking the walk. And we must take political action with a small and big P. Political in the societies that represent us, and we've seen that leadership, but politically with the national dialogue with the parties that surround us. And we can all do that as individuals with our votes and those bringing us together, but I'd like Pete Chalkley to wave, if you've not, there's Pete. Pete, I won't drag you up on stage, but Pete runs the Energy and Climate Intelligence Unit, which is indeed a very highly intelligent, articulate communications outfit that understands how to get messages to politicians, the press, and the rest of us. He is short of experts who he can quote at crucial times, when there's a heat wave, when there's particulate pollution, when we're talking about diet. So please remember Pete, I'm sure his contact details are there, but help him. When they're looking for someone for Sky News, be that person who stands up to talk about your area of domain expertise. So I'm going to shut up. I think I hand back to our chair, but I'd like to say thank you again for the organisation. Go well, but rise up and make the difference. There is no time left to do anything other than that. Thank you.